Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to another Morgan James book launch. My name's Jim Howard. I'm the publisher for Morgan James, and today we have another incredible author for you to meet. Today we have Cathy Alves Davis, and Cathy is the author of Myrcles, a true story of divine intervention, hope, and inspiration. Cathy, thank you for taking the time to talk with us today.
Hi, Jim. It's so nice to see you in person. This has been a long time coming. So
It
I'm really
has.
excited to be here today. I'm excited about my book, Myrcles, coming out in 2 weeks, June 1st. Pretty
What an,
exciting stuff.
what an incredible cover. And we're excited as well because I know this book is going to give a lot of people a lot of hope and
Yes.
inspiration. And it's just an incredible book. So, Cathy, what made you write Myrcles?
Well, it started, how I wrote it, I'll get into that in a second, but in my childhood, I was a very severe asthmatic. And asthma in the late 50s, there was no magic bullet, there was no rescue inhaler. The child would choke and strangle and cough and try to get air, but air wouldn't come. And the hospital was about a half hour from where we lived. And the only thing that I had to rely on in those days was my faith. And so I would always go to God and prayer and beg him to heal me and to open up my bronchial tubes. And it would be then when I'd be so exhausted that my mother, knowing that my health was out of her hands, she would encourage me to go to Jesus and to relax and to try to drift off to sleep and to go to Jesus. And she would promise me that he would be there waiting for me. And just as my mother said, when I drifted off in an exhausted slumber, there would be Jesus in his long blue robe with his hands outstretched. And he would tell me things that were going to happen in my life. And the next day I would tell my mother, and she would think that that was a childhood dreams. I had a dream that night and that's what it was about. But actually those things started happening. So my mother had to believe that those were really true and I was being visited by Jesus. So that faith stayed with me my whole entire life because, of course, I had asthma always. Now, of course, it's under control due to, the medicines of today. But in those frightening years, that faith in Jesus and God was all that got me through. So it was in my 40s. I was running a company. I was in an exhausted state. I had uncovered an embezzlement. And it was so overwhelming it had been overwhelming for more than a year. And I was just when I came home, I was doing a self-exam. And when I did, I found something that didn't seem right in my left breast. So I went to see my gynecologist the next day. He thought there was nothing to it, sent me for a sonogram. The sonogram showed that there was something, but he thought it was a cyst. And then he sent me to the top surgeon in Northern Virginia, where I live now. And when I went there, the surgeon said, oh no, he took a biopsy. It was filled with fluids and there was nothing for me to be concerned about. And I went home, but he would have the pathology report in 3 days. Unfortunately, 3 days later, he called me to tell me that I didn't have a cyst, nor did I have just cancer. I had aggressive stage 3 breast cancer. He told me that I wasn't going to make it. They gone to my lungs. The cancer actually was the size of a navel orange. And so they told me it was probably in lungs to get my in order. But even if it was to live, so no hope really to live. And I was in my 40s. So, but Jim, I'm only 42 now. Anyway, I went to prove how cancer that was the size of a navel orange was. And I went and had the CAT scan. And as I lay there on the CAT scan table with the droning of the CAT scan machine at my feet and the big black clock on the wall that was ticking away the seconds, and I was praying, God spoke to me like he had done when I was a child. And he allowed me to know that I was going to be fine and that one day I would go on to write a book of hope and inspiration that would help countless others. And I knew right then and there I was going to be cured and that I was going to have that miracle that God promised me, even against all the odds. And all the doctors, I told all the doctors, and they didn't believe it. But unbelievably so, the Boston doctors said to me, the only place in the country that has a stage 3 aggressive breast cancer protocol is Washington, D.C. Are you familiar with Georgetown? I said, well, that's exactly where I live. And they said, really? I said, Georgetown is really 45 minutes from my front door. So I knew right then and there that God was ahead of me all the way.
Mhm.
And so when I went to Georgetown, they gave me the same doom and gloom, but I told them that I was going to have a miracle. And you'll have to read the book, but in a matter of months' time, I had the miracle that God told me about at Georgetown University Hospital. And I made history that day in 1998.
Wow.
So that's why I wrote the book, is because God wanted me to give hope and inspiration to countless others. And it isn't just with cancer, it's with any adversity, Jim. We're all going to face adversity in this lifetime. It could be financial woes, marriage problems, problems with teenagers. It could be job loss. It could be illness. It could be whatever that, aging parents, whatever the adversity is you're facing, you can face it all with faith. And if you do, you can come out of it and you can be a winner. So that's why I wrote the book, because God told me and asked me to do it. And I loved it because it became my mission. So I didn't think about cancer while I was going through treatment. I kept thinking about, wow, I'm going to go out. I finally found what my purpose is. I'm going to go out and write a book that's going to help countless other people. And I love helping people. So it was right up my alley. But then the second part of the question, how did I come to the book, naming the book Miracles? Well, I really wanted to name the book Divine Intervention. And but when my husband looked it up, it was a crowded field. So Divine Intervention, there was thousands of them out there. How would they find me? So my husband said at the end, we've got to find another name for the book, because it's not going to work. There's some seminars and conventions on divine intervention, which I think is great, but it would have been lost in a crowded field.
Mhm.
So anyway, I decided that so it happened in 2001 when breast cancer personalized license plates came out in Virginia. I wanted to be the first one to get my license plate with the pink ribbon there, and I wanted it to say Myrcles. So, and I wanted it to be spelled the correct way, but it was eight characters. And because of the pink ribbon, it could only take 6. So my husband and I had to brainstorm another way to say Miracles, which finally my husband said, what about MY? So like my miracles, your miracles, we all have them. We just need to recognize them. And so I said, okay. But anyway, I was going along in my car with that pink ribbon with Miracle on I couldn't do the S, with that Miracle name on my license plate, and it stopped a lot of people in their tracks. It was very interesting in parking lots. People would always come up to me and say, "What is that miracle about? Did you have a miracle?" So I was already talking about my book, as I was starting to write it. But anyway, so Miracles was born, and I wanted to call it plural miracles, because I've had many miracles in my life, which you will read about in my book.
That is outstanding, and what a wonderful story of overcoming, but reliance on that faith. And you're right, we're all going to go through things in our life and seasons in our life that just seem too big for us to overcome. But if we have that faith, we can believe that with Christ we can get through it all, and he'll bring us through it. And it sounds like he did that for you, even bringing you to this amazing title. And we get the same reaction when we talk about the title. It's people instantly take ownership of my miracle, so they can already see how they
Yes.
can align with your story and your journey. So I just think that is so cool. Well,
And Jim, I want to add that it's
yeah.
funny because um, when you and I first talked, I don't know, it was about a year ago. We all had a great talk, and we had a conference call, and you were on that call with me. And I had already talked to David Hancock, the president, but it was exciting to talk with you too when you were in charge of the meeting, and we had an instant rapport. And then I told that story about divine intervention.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, because that's really what I wanted to name my book, was divine intervention. And all of a sudden you said, what about that's the subtitle? Instead of, hope and inspiration, you said, what about that is the subtitle? A true story of divine intervention, hope and inspiration. And I'm telling you, I got goosebumps because I knew that was going to be the name of my book, but it was a crowded field, so I couldn't get it in there. So how fantastic that God made it all come to fruition. It went right around, and here it is now, Myrcles, which is perfect. Like you say, everybody's like, oh, I like that. Myrcles, my Myrcles. But then also divine intervention is is part of the subtitle of my book. How unbelievable. God is so good in everything he does.
Amen. And it's always amazing to see how it all works out in the end. And there is no better title subtitle combination for this book. So it's absolutely perfect.
Thank you. I'm so glad it came into you. That was like a God shot or a God whisper,
I love it. I love it. So, Cathy, what do you hope that readers take away from reading Myrcles?
Well, there are a lot of people. We've been through a terrible time here now with this pandemic. Hope has been at an all-time low. And I'm hoping that people take away from there. Everybody wants to see a miracle. Everyone wants to hear a miracle. It's just not the miracles of Christ's time when he was on this earth. Miracles happen every day to people. And people don't, they just miss getting in a car accident. Their child gets, was crossing a street and just gets the child the car just misses the child. Their mother recovers from COVID, whatever. There's all kind of miracles out there. And so I think that I want people to see that with faith, you can get through anything in this world, even an aggressive stage 3 breast cancer, the size of a navel orange, that they gave me no hope of living. So you can do it. Anyone can do it. Any adversity that's out there, whether it be a health issue too, or cancer, they may have cancer, or their family may have cancer. Faith. So I know for sure, because I've got many, many messages, this book is going to give people great hope and inspiration. And wherever they are on their journey with faith, whether they're on the fence, whether they are looking for faith, whether they want to strengthen their faith, whether they are faithful, but they just want to hear more about what faith can do, this book does the trick.
Yeah, outstanding, outstanding. And if we are aware, we can see those miracles as they unfold. Yes. And sometimes it's just allowing ourselves to believe that it was a miracle in the first place.
That's exactly it, Jim. You got it. People talk themselves out of it. Now, did God whisper to me? I don't think so. I felt like I wasn't supposed to go down that road, but I think that was just me thinking, no, that was God whispering, don't go down that road.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And your book enlightens people to that fact. And when you see how it all unfolded in your life, we can start to see how it's unfolding in ours. And that's the great thing about a book where someone shares their journey, is that it allows us to align ourselves with them and say, oh, well, that happened in Cathy's life, and this is how it showed up in mine. And then we can see it for the first time.
I think you're exactly right. People then recognize, when they read the book, they start to recognize the miracles that they have had and that they are having in their own life.
So how has this book, writing Myrcles, how has that touched your life?
Oh my goodness. I did not aspire to be an author. I had no intentions of doing that. I was the head of a business. That's what I did all my life. And I was in the business world. I never thought of writing a book, but I was always a good storyteller. I could tell a story. I could captivate an audience. And I think that's part of why God chose me too. But writing the book, I like to coin the phrase, I typed and God whispered, because I didn't know how to write a book. People say, well, that book was so great. Did you study? No, I didn't study. I just started typing away. And there'd be some nights I would go to bed, and at 4 o'clock in the morning, I would be prompted to go back into my office. And I'd start writing again. And all of a sudden I'd look and it'd be 6:30 in the morning and I'd be exhausted and I'd have to go back to my office. And the next day, just before I'd go back into my office, I'd go, oh my gosh, what did I write last night? And I'd look at it and I'd say, I wrote that? What? I wrote that? So I like to say, I typed and God whispered. But what I got out of it is that I know my book is helping so many people. And I'm so thrilled that Morgan James picked up my book and that now it's going to get out to the countless others that God wanted it to get out to. And that way, so many people will be helped. And that's the exciting part to me. So that's what I get out of the book, is that I'm doing my God-given mission and I'm helping others. So I've gotten a lot of reward out of that book.
Wow, that is so amazing. And Cathy, I know people are watching us right now, and seeing this video and hearing our conversation. Maybe they have a copy of the book, or maybe they're waiting to get their copy from the store. But if people want to find out more of what's going on in your world and how they can connect with you, what's the best way for them to get connected with you?
Well, they can always contact me at my email address, which is www.Cathy with a C Davis 33 at gmail.com. They can contact me on my Facebook account, which is Cathy Cathy Alves Alves Davis. They can private message me there. They can also go to my Facebook Myrcles account, which is Myrcles. That I also have a website. It will be up and running next month, and that will be www.myrcles.com. And then it's Cathy Cathy with a C again at myrcles.com. I think I've got them all in there. Oh yes, I'm on Instagram as well, and it's breast cancer _miracles. So, and Cathy Alves Davis, again, Cathy Alves Davis is also on Instagram. So there's a number of ways they can get in contact with me. And I love to hear from my reader. I love it. I love it when my reader reaches out to me and says, oh, you don't know what this book meant to me. It came in the nick of time. Someone gave it to me. I was going through a terrible situation. I'm like blown away. I'm so thrilled. I'm like, oh Lord, you've given me the most awesome mission.
That's awesome. So there you have it. There are lots of ways for you to get in touch with Cathy and get connected with her. And I encourage all of you to do that. Get a copy of this book. It's available everywhere books are sold, physical book as well as ebook. So you can get a copy in any format that you want to read it in, but read it. It's very powerful. Get connected with Cathy. And I know that her story will change the way you look at seeing miracles in your own life. So Cathy,
Yes.
thank you for one, sharing your story and putting the book together for others. I think that anytime we have the opportunity to share our struggle, our journey, and our
Yes.
victory with other people to help them, that is the reason that we're here. And you've done that. You listened and you did it. And we're so proud to be partnered with you on this book and can't wait to see what happens as people get it and read it. But thank you for sharing your story and talking with us today.
Jim, I'm so excited too, because I know that so many people are going to be helped and inspired, and the book is going to touch their lives in a truly profound way. I promise everyone that. Thank
Out.
you again.
Oh, outstanding. Well, thank you guys for watching this video. And I encourage you to grab a copy of Miracles, a true story of divine intervention, hope, and inspiration. And I hope to see every one of you on our next book launch as well. So until then, thank you guys for joining. Cathy, thank you. And we'll talk soon.
Thank you.